Okay, so the next session would be having with another impressive lady. Her name is Miss Ijeoma Anunibe. I can see her on the call, and I'd like to say a warm welcome to you, Miss Ijeoma. Ijeoma Anunibe is an entrepreneur with 10 years experience in human resource management across diverse industries such as oil and gas, FMCG, banking, agri-tech, and she's currently with Shotlast as the head of people and culture. She has an educational background in economics, where she holds both a bachelor's and master's degree, and is keen on ensuring organizations have the right people and structures in place. She's a senior certified professional of the Society of Human Resource Management and a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, which allows people to add value to their organizations and achieve personal and professional development. I think with this introduction, a lot of us would have figured out where this next session is kind of heading towards. And so I'd like to say a warm welcome to you, Miss Ijeoma.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Can you hear me? I don't know. It seems like
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you clearly. We're really happy to hear you.
yes.
And we noticed that on your on your resume it says that you are currently head of people and culture at Shotlast. And what kind of role is that, or what kind of things do you do in that role?
Okay, so head of people and culture is a fancy way for head of human resources. What I basically would do is to oversee the people strategy and implementation of people initiatives at Shotless. So essentially ensuring that the organization is driving its objectives through people. So that's my role in a nutshell.
Hmm. All right. So if you're having a hard time at work and you want to figure out how to get out of this period, then I think Ijoma is your person. Am I right?
Something like that. Yes.
All right. So it also mentions here that you have a background in economics. How do you think that economics has contributed to the success you have achieved so far?
Okay, so economics for me is has been a huge driver in what I do. So it has really helped, especially at the level where I am currently. It has really helped my business acumen. So it helps me see things from a value add mentality. So how are the factors of production? Because essentially everything is a factor of production. So how are the factors of production coming together to achieve the objectives, which is production, right? So, how are we maximizing all of the resources that we have, whether it's the people who would implement the work or the or organizational financial resources or any sort of resources essentially helps me think from an efficiency mindset. So that has really been an important driver in how my career has grown. Just having that economics background and also being in a place where I am helping organizations maximize their people
Hmm. Thank
investments
you
as
very
well.
much. And I'm pretty sure your 10 years of experience in human resources would leave us with a lot to learn. And so I think at this point, it is the right time for me to introduce your topic for interview strategies. And so I urge everyone to pay close attention as I would leave the stage now to Ijoma to do her thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't know. Should I call you EX Unilag? Because that's the name I see there. I don't know what to
Oh,
say.
I'm really sorry. My
So,
name is Tommy, so you can call me Tommy.
Tommy. Okay, thank you so much, Tommy, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone, for having me. So, we're discussing we're discussing a very interesting topic, which is making a lasting impression, effective interview strategies for making a lasting impression. And I have a few slides. So, do you mind if I share my slides while we continue?
Please do.
Okay, awesome. So, I'm just going to start sharing my slides from here. Please let me know when you can see my slides. I think I might have. Yes. Okay. Um, Great. So my name is Ijeoma. Like I've already been introduced, I'm going to skip this part. Well, I call myself the HR employee because I really enjoy what I do at in HR, and I know I mentioned that it's coming from a place of helping organizations maximize their people investments and also helping individuals, employees themselves, become value adding individuals. Remember, I mentioned that my economics background helps me think from a value add mindset, right? For me, I think it was Ayo who mentioned, having a growth mindset. So my economics background helps me think about that. So that's why I always call myself the HR employee. We've already talked about the topic, which is making a lasting impression. So when you go into an interview, people always want to leave a good impression because that's the way to get the job, I guess. A lot of people believe that that's the way to get the job. Over time, I have done, I can't even count how many interviews I've done in my life, right? I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. It's so funny. And, recruitment is one interesting part of HR that, if you ask, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I thought someone said something. Okay, thank you, Ago. So recruitment is a very interesting part of HR because you see, you get to meet people, different people. You get to see how people think. You get to see people in their element when they are put on the spot or when the spotlight is on them. So recruitment, the especially the interview process, is a really interesting exercise, especially if you're introverted like me and you observe things a lot. It's very interesting to see. And so I'm here to share, from that wealth of knowledge to enable you ensure that you ace your next interview, right? And ensure that, and this just even goes beyond, the interview process. It also extends to just interacting with people normally, right? Some of the things I'm going to be sharing today are really around how best to interact with people normally. So let's get into it. Um, Earlier, I mentioned the recruitment process, right? So between you and the job offer, right? Between the individual and the job offer is something called, there's a journey you have to go through, and that journey is the recruitment process, right? So it starts with, applying to the role or being referred for the role, however it is that, the application process starts for you. So it starts with applying, and then you go through series of selection or screening exercises, and then you get into the interview stage, and then you get the offer, right? You become the final candidate who is given an offer. So all of that in an organization is called the recruitment process. So is that in between where from when you want to start, when you intend to get into an organization, and when you finally get into the organization, that whole process is called the recruitment process. So I mentioned that there are different, depending on your organization, right? There are different ways to look at the recruitment process. So they are like standards across different organizations. But I think that um, there's a standard in the HR industry, and I think the standard would be the screening phase, so the application phase or the sourcing phase, then the screening stage, and then the selection stage, and then the offer stage, right? So the interview process comes up within the selection stage where you would but nowadays, it's been extended into the screening stage. And here's what I'll say: at short class, when you apply to a role, one of your screening assignments will be to do a video recording of yourself answering a question. In the previous place where I worked in Tenaris was the first time I came across that, video interview platform where people will just video themselves answering a set of questions. Typically, before the screening process will entail you probably somebody giving you a call and having like a 10 minutes conversation with you to ask you some questions, or you can even use the ATS where the if your ATS is AI enabled, it sort of checks for certain keywords, and your CV does not filter through to the screening stage if certain keywords or certain experiences or certain things that the screening process has been designed to look out for isn't on your CV, right? So they take, for instance, if a job says 10 years experience, which I see a lot of people do, you see somebody that has 1 year experience apply to it. Why are you trying to suffer? Right? That's even the first stage in making a lasting impression. Always apply for roles that you're qualified for. Always apply for roles that you meet the requirements. And if let's assume that you sort of have transferable skills and you want to do like a career transition and you want to apply for a role that you've not done before, but you have some transferable skills, like take for instance, if you're in customer support, right, and you want to transition into an account manager role, there are some transferable skills there like relationship management, customer management, and all of that. So you would arrange your CV in such a way that it showcases or highlights your requirements. So you check for the skills and the competencies required for that role. Okay, have I done something around that? And then you can apply. But if you've never done anything around that and the role says we need 5 years experience, you just go, phew, and go and apply. But the way you went film and apply the same way you film, your CV will go out, back out, right? And recruiters are human beings too. So, I like to make awareness for recruiters whenever I'm having this kind of conversations. Recruiters are human beings too. So when we have all of those applications that are not useful to us, that takes a lot of time. And in the organization pays for your time, and time is money. And so it now requires a little bit more effort to get other things done. So first step to make an impressive, a lasting impression is to apply for roles that you are qualified for, either because you've done them before, or maybe it's an entry level role that requires no experience, or you have transferable skills that are required for that you can transfer into that role because you want to transition into that role. Now, takes me to my question: why are interviews important? Does anybody want to answer in the chat, or you can unmute yourself? Why are interviews important? Why do you think interviews are important? Yes, Daniel. Thank you for not leaving me alone back here. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I believe interviews are important because each company has to review like the compatibility of the whoever they're employing with their company's culture, because you have to assess behavioral skills and also technical skills. So, and all these things cannot be shown on the user's face or the whoever they are. So these things are really important to checkmate and to see that the person's values align with the values of the company they are willing to work with.
Hmm. Thank you, Daniel. That's like super straight to the point. You want to check for technical fit. You also want to check for culture fit. Very important. Olainka also says you want to check for culture fit. That's very true. Aya says you don't want to employ a mentally unstable person. Guess what? There are so many psychopaths walking around looking like normal people. So the interview will not necessarily rescue you from that, but it can give you pointers to how this person will react. But it won't completely save you from employing a mentally unstable person. Again, this is important. I believe interview is important to know the competency of the employee exactly. So all the things we said is to ascertain fit. So fit, whether it's from a technical standpoint or from a cultural standpoint, right? Now, there's another reason why interviews are important. There's a quote from Gordon Livingstone that past performance is the most reliable indicator of future behavior. Now, think about it, right? If you've been able to do something before, it gives the person speaking to you like a 70% chance that this person will be able to deliver, especially if you can elaborate on how you've done something similar to that in the past. So an example would be, in primary school, I always took first position. there is a likelihood that you might come out as the best graduating student. 70% likelihood that you may come out as the best graduating student, or 50% if you have a lot of smart people in your class. But there's confidence. The other person who is discussing with you has that confidence because they've seen that you're either somebody who is able to work hard, who has the discipline to be able to get that done. So when you're in an interview, the questions are usually around, what have you done in similar situations, right? And in answering that, you give the person the confidence that, in the future, you can actually do that. So that's why, for me, interviews are important because organizations run something called a competency based interview. So they've outlined a list of skills that they want the person who's the job holder to be able to have. So take for instance, you have to be disciplined. Discipline, you have to have leadership competences. So a leadership competence for an entry level person can be, I organized the EX Engineering Career Expo at Unilag, and over 1,000 students applied. That gives me confidence that this person, if put in a position to lead a project, can actually deliver on the project. But then people lie, right? But I mean, in that conversation, and guess what? A lie cannot be sustained for too long. So we will catch you eventually. But for the sake of this conversation, the focus is on sharing things that you've done before that gives the interviewer the confidence that you can actually do this again and again and again, right? Um, Now, interviews are largely about demonstrating competence, and a lot of us have already stated that it's about, and I think I've already said this, it's about showcasing what you've done previously that makes you the best candidate for the role. So one of the questions people ask, nowadays people don't ask it. I think if you ever see me interview you, just know that I will not ask you this question: why are you the best candidate for the role? Because it's like a question that everybody already knows. But guess what? I will ask you that question in a roundabout way. Because the whole essence of the interview is to determine who is the best candidate for this role. And it's based on past experience or the person's ability to demonstrate teachability and some other competencies that are required for the role. So when going into an interview, remember that the ultimate objective is to showcase why you are the best candidate for the role. And I said earlier that I will not ask you that question if you met me in an interview. That's because in your introduction, I expect you to highlight to me why you're the best candidate for the role, right? I have people that I've interviewed, and I always usually have like a long list of questions to ask them. And guess what? In that my long list of questions, I end up asking only two because in answering one question, they've answered the other questions, right? And that always leaves like a lasting impression for me. So that's one way you can leave a lasting impression by sort of preempting. They're like standard questions, sort of preempting what kind of questions would be standard questions for this role that I am going to be interviewing for. And thank God for ChatGPT. So you can ask ChatGPT to ask you to like, give you standard questions, right? That would be asked of the person in this role. And once ChatGPT is able to deliver, it's able to give you that, then you can practice. And I'll come to things that you can do to have like an effective interview step. So there's some things you need to do pre-interview, right? Oh, I thought I put a transition here, but I guess not. There are some certain things that you're supposed to do pre-interview, right? First is to create an impressive CV. If your CV is not, remember I mentioned that there are stages before the interview stage. So before you even get, so there are hurdles you need to pass before you get to the interview hurdle. So if the first hurdle is to apply, how have you made your CV in such a way that you can apply? I read a lot of things about recruitment, and I read a lot of things about subject matter experts on recruitment sharing their thoughts. And one of the things, especially now that you have AI powered ATS, sorry, I keep saying ATS, applicant tracking system. So when you apply to a company's website or a company's job site or career site, there's usually a form you need to fill and then upload your CV, and that is like the your own interface for the um, applicant tracking system. Now, from our end as recruiters, we're able to move you through certain stages. We're able to review your CV, we're able to review your application, your cover letter, if the case may be, and it moves alongside. So, first thing you need to do is create an impressive CV. I don't want to have to open your CV and first of all see that you are stressing me by putting your when I go to your experience, I see that you're putting your your how would I put that thing? Your current experience. I have to go down, 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 down to find your current experience. It should be in, is it ascending order or descending order now? So your current experience should be the topmost, right? Should be the first experience I see under the section for experience and achievements in your CV. I need to be able to read up on some of the achievements that you've had over time. Some of those salient achievements that you want to call out, because it says to me that this person is achievement oriented, and so I want to be able to read and see the things without even meeting you, read and see that you've done certain things that I'm looking for. So I don't want your CV to stress me. I don't want to see that you did not take the time to review your CV and not check if the font is the same, or some things are not spelling and the margins are not aligned properly, such that some words are missing and it's disjointed. The first page and the second page are disjointed. I want to see that you were intentional about your CV. So create an impressive CV, right? Then usually after you've submitted your assessment, before you even start meeting anybody, right? I mentioned video assessments. I also mentioned, and then there are also other assessments like aptitude tests. So you need to do well in those assessments, right? Before we even start talking about interviewing for the role. So you need to give it your best. Don't try to just randomly, oh, I beg, then you answer. No, you can't be nonchalant. Applying for a job is actually a job. So you need to be able to excel in those assessments, finish them timely. When I used to use Test Gorilla to deploy tests, I'll see certain people, Test Gorilla will tell you how long a person spent on a particular test. I'll see certain people that, they just went and they're like, oh no, this thing is hard. And then they leave it and they walk away. They don't even bother. And then you see some people that, will spend all of their time doing, when the tester said speed and accuracy is important, right? You didn't read the instructions, you were focused on accuracy, and then you missed out on the speed part, right? That does not do anything for me, right? The next thing again I'm checking is to see on the assessments that you've done, you probably had, I mean, one typo is okay, maybe two self is even manageable, but a lot of typos right there, it means that you don't pay attention. And we're looking for people who pay attention to details in the workplace. So you need to be able to excel in your assessment. You need to be able to take that assessment as something important and get it done, and get it done well. So finish it on time and finish it well, right? The next thing you need to do is then know the company. Don't stumble into the recruitment process without knowing the company that you are applying to, right? Sometimes when you get an interview invite, they might be willing to put the name of the person that you're interviewing with. Sometimes, people don't, because at the point of the interview, they're not even sure if maybe your interviewer would be available. So they will probably not give you a name. But some people go the extra mile to put the names of the people you'll be interviewing with. And it's important that you probably do a bit of research. I'm not saying you should know how many children they have, or how many wives they've married, or how many husbands they've had. That's like low level stalking. But it's important that you read up on them, right? To a large extent. So if they've had like a a what do you call it, like a speech somewhere, or you met them somewhere, or you can speak to that during your interview. So know the company, know what the company does, know their core values, know their, spend some time, if possible, sleep on their career side, know some core values, know some things that about the company, and then about your interviewers as well. Then know yourself. If you don't know yourself, you have failed the interview. Don't even bother going into an interview if you don't know yourself, my dear. Because the first question, usually, the standard first question is, let's get to know you. Introduce yourself, right? So if you cannot call out what your strengths and weaknesses are, if you cannot say what your motivations are, your skill sets, what you have done, I've seen certain interviews. Tell us about yourself. Oh, my name is Ijoma. My name, oh God, my names are Ijoma. That's one that one just is like off-putting for everybody, right? So my names are Ijeoma Anunibe, and my names are Ijeoma Anunibe. Question I'm asking myself: are you Legion? Do you have a lot of evil spirits inside of you? It's not just you. Why are you saying my names are? My names are Ijeoma Anunibe. Secondly, you now say I'm a graduate of, or I'm a student of, and that's it. That's where it ends. I'll be looking at you like, okay, okay, keep on, continue, keep going. And so if you're not able to sell yourself beyond, your name and your educational qualities, then now is the time to practice. Now is the time to know yourself. Do a SWOT analysis of who you are, right? Try to know your strengths, your weaknesses, try to understand your personality type if possible. Try to understand what motivates you in the workplace. Try to understand what skill sets you have currently that makes you the best candidate for the role, right? Then research on pay scales for that role so that you're not going there and you're saying you're applying for an entry level job and you're saying, I want to be paid. What are your salary expectations? I want to be paid 1 million naira. Myself, would you 1 million naira yourself out of that interview space? Because it's not going to work. You will not even get the call back. Matter of fact, you might not even get the please, we're not interested. They'll just keep you in limbo till further notice. So research on pay scales. So what's the going rate for this role that I'm recruiting? I'm about to apply for, and what range can I give them? That also means that it is negotiable or not, right? And then practice. I remember I mentioned thank God for ChatGPT. Ask those questions. Ask, tell me what the question will be for this role I'm recruiting for, and then practice. Practice with a friend. Practice with yourself. Practice, right, is very very key for interview, especially that first question of tell me about yourself. Practice is key. Are people still listening to me? Let me get some reactions. If you're still listening to me, or I'm still speaking to somebody, because I don't want to feel like I'm here by myself. It's like it's only me and Daniel that are here together. Daniel, it's like it's just two of us. That okay, Kane did too is here as well. And Moin is here. Okay, so thank you everyone. At least I'm sure that people are listening to me. Great. So now you've done all of that preparation. Now we're getting into the interview proper, right? Dress professionally. It will not kill you to dress professionally, right? Let me tell you why dressing professionally is so important, because you don't know who you're meeting. I'll give you an example. You meet a conservative Muslim or you meet a conservative Christian, and then you dress, in a way that you want to dress. You dress for your body type. You dress, all those things that we say about dressing. It is my body. I can wear what I like. And you go into the interview. But yeah, you have lost that job immediately, because people have bias. There's something called unconscious bias, right? And you can read up about it after now. It's very unconscious. Even the person that is interviewing you might not even know that they have their bias, but it will play out when they are making a decision, right? We on our own end will try to solve for it by by ensuring that it's not just one person that is interviewing you, or even if it's just one person, it's not one person that is going to take the decision, right? But you also on your own part need to play your part by dressing professionally. I always advise people to wear neutral colors, right? Maybe that's my own personal opinion, but since you're asking for my opinion, I'm sharing my opinion. Wear neutral colors. Don't go and wear, fiery red, and wear animal skin to an interview. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And then when you leave, you become what everybody will high five themselves in the office and discuss the topic of the day. No, dress professionally, right? And don't say because, oh, I'm interviewing for a tech company. Oh my God, I can wear jeans. My dear, just you have not gotten into the company yet. Where it's better you're even dressed business casual. You don't have to be too formal, but it's best you dress as professionally as possible, regardless of what the dress code for that organization is. I'll give you an example. There's this guy, he came for the interview. First stage, he came. You saw that, oh, we're all wearing jeans. Oh, awesome. I was working on FMCG then. All wearing jeans. Oh, great. It's like, oh, these are my people. What's up? These are my people. Guess what? The next interview, his final interview, he wore jeans and he showed up. The GM that was interviewing him, that was an Indian. The only reason they would not take this guy was because he wore jeans to the interview. But like maybe there were other questions he didn't answer well, but I know that the Indian kept on saying that, oh my God, how are we dressed like this to an interview, even if we are all wearing jeans, right? And so you're the person interviewing for the role. I remember when I was trying to get into that same particular company, I was working in a bank and we had like a market storm. I was wearing a round neck polo and I was dressed down basically for the bank then at that time. Went to the market, we had this market storm. I had an interview in the evening. I changed. I brought out my jacket from where it was, changed my shirt, and went to the interview. Because I could not have said, oh, pardon me, I'm coming from a market storm. Please bear with me. That's why I'm all sweaty and that's why I'm wearing a t-shirt. No, there's no excuse for that. You dress well and you go for the interview. Now, sell yourself through your introduction. Remember, essentially, an interview, if you don't take anything away from what I've said today, remember that I've said that an interview is to demonstrate why you're the best candidate for the role. So, your introduction should sell you, should show why you're the best candidate for the role. An example would be, my name is Ijeoma Anunibe. I'm a graduate of economics with over 10 years experience in human resources. I have worked across multiple industries like FMCG, agri-tech. I'm currently working in mobility tech as a head of people and culture at Shotlers. I have a strong work ethic. I'm able to deliver on anything that you give me. I'm able to push through and work. I'm very motivated by achievements, and that's why I have a lot of achievements, such as I've built performance management systems, I've done this, I've done that, and I believe that all of this makes me the best candidate for this role. And I really enjoy. I've looked through your website and I see that you're a company that is focused on XYZ, and I really would like to be a part of this company because you're focused on delivering XYZ. Oh, you have gotten the job. Oh. You have got just ooh, 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 as everybody will be clapping. So if let's say the interviewer came unprepared, my dear, that's how the interview will just say okay to hire without asking you, and now you just hear any question, no further questions from me. That's it, you've gotten the job. Right? Now, when you get there, check in with your body language. Team arrogance, borderline confidence. It's either arrogance or confidence. Pick one. It's not borderline anything. Pick one, my dear. So those people that will come off as I'm confident in myself, but every other person is reading it as arrogance. Check in with your body language. Smile. If you're somebody that's always frowning like me, my dear, put on a smile. See, now I'm talking to you guys, I'm smiling. But once I close this laptop, that's the end of the smile. But smile, right? A smile would always. Yesterday, we gave a job to somebody because we loved his personality. And then the guy was intelligent. So it was not just about the personality. He was just smiling through the interview. Me, I was just like, how would somebody just be smiling like this? And it was because I could not relate, but I enjoyed talking to him. And even when you're not asking him questions, he's smiling. And I'm looking forward to working with him because I want his personality to rub off on my grouchy personality. So it's important that you smile, check in with your body language. If you're angry, drop that anger at the door before you walk into the interview. You cannot go there and say, oh, and if you're nervous, practice calming, take a deep breath in before you go in. Don't go there and be shaking. You already we'll try to, as the interviewers, we'll try to make you calm down. But there's a limit. We also have a time that we're working with. So we cannot spend all the time trying to calm you down. So you need to check in with your body language, how you position yourself, how you show up, right? It needs to be very important. Take your anxiety medicine if you have anxiety issues, or just look for someone to give you a hug and speak words of encouragement that will fire you up before you get there. So don't worry, you'll be fine. Just be calm. Find it, and it's very important that you get to the interview early. That's why it's important that if it's a physical interview or even a virtual interview, get in early so that you are more centered before the interviewers get in, right? So if it's a physical interview, get there on time so that you're calm, you're not rushing. You'd have calmed down before you enter. Because if you just come in 1 minute to the interview and immediately they're ushering you, you look so flustered. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm late. Oh, before you know it, the interview will go bad. Even you, as you're leaving the room, when they ask you how was the interview for you, you say, oh more, it did not go well, right? So, and then speak confidently. I don't know how to explain that borderline arrogance, but you will know. But speak confidently, So how are you today? I'm doing well, thank you. And you add all those, all those magic words they taught us in primary school and nursery school. Please and thank you. Use it very well there. But speak comfortably. Don't be, even if you're fidgeting. We all have coping mechanisms for when we are shy. I'm a very shy person, but you probably will not know because I've worked hard to overcome it and I'm still shy sometimes. So I find ways like now under this table that my laptop is on, I'm putting my hands together and fidgeting with my fingers. But above what you can see is projecting confidence. And then when you sit in the interview, don't go and be if it's a swelling chair, don't make the mistake of doing like this. So don't make that mistake. It's very important. I mean, I know that some of you is an itch you want to scratch. Don't scratch it. Just be sit still. Don't move that chair, right? Then ask clarifying, listen actively. So I think I came in to Ayo's session late, but I think Ayo touched on it because I saw the questions that were asked, which is listen first to understand, seek first to understand before you can say what it is you want to say. So listen actively. Listen beyond what the person is saying to the person's body language, right? That would even help you, answer the questions well. And where you are not sure of what direction the question is going, ask clarifying questions. So somebody asks you a question like, um, so where do you see us? What are you looking for your next career move? You're like, okay, I would like to know, do you mean like what are my career plans for the next 3 years or the next 5 years? Or what would you like to know? And the person will say, okay, let's start with 3 years. And you say, okay, great. It's better you ask than you just go and jump into answering the question. You don't have to always be omnipotent, right? You don't have to know everything. You can ask questions that would help you get the answers, especially if you're presenting a case study or somebody gives you like a hypothetical situational question. Ask questions before you start answering, especially on the basis that you're not clear on, because that's how you will jump into answering the question. The person will just be like, this one does not even know what he's talking about. Then you use the STAR method to answer your question. So STAR is situation, task, action, and results, right? And I'll speak to that in my next slides, right? So when you're being asked a question, always state, especially when they say, describe this to me or tell me about a time when you start all those questions with, you're about to share your past experience. So don't go into story time. That's like saying, that's how my roommate came back the other day, or my colleague or my sister came back and started. Nobody wants to listen to your life story because there's no time for that. You need to ensure that you are focused on answering what the situation was, what was expected of you in terms of the task, what actions you took, and then what was the result of the actions that you took, right? Avoid we. Yes, we know that you people were plenty that worked on this project. I know that this career expo wasn't just by one person. I'm sure like they were a committee. Always speak to what you did. So there are places where you can say, so we came up with the idea and I was the one who reached out to the speaker. I was the one who sent an email to the speaker. So there's a place for we. But even in that we need to know what you did. So always state what you also did, right? You can state the problem that the collective team faced, but what you want to really know is what was your contribution to solving that problem. Then give a compelling presentation. If you're supposed to give a presentation, you know, start practicing your presentation skills because it's very, very important. So if you've never presented anything, call your family members together every Friday and say, I have a goal in 2024 to be the best public speaker ever. Say no to shyness. Tell them, I want to give you a 10-minute TED talk on why you should wear slippers at home. And I'm talking from experience. People in my house did this then last week Friday. So you use that to go. So as simple as just talking about things that are interest to you, it will help you build the muscle or the competence to speak about other things that are make you technically sound, right, to an organization. And then be relatable and authentic. Don't go and someone told me once, and I did not believe it until I started paying attention to it. I mean, after the person shared it with me, I could not help but pay attention to it. The person says that when people are lying, you can tell. There's a way they angle their head. I don't remember if it's left or right now. So you can tell when somebody's sharing an experience. Psychologists say you can tell when somebody's sharing an experience that is true and when somebody's sharing an experience that is false, when they're making up an experience based on how they angle their head. Maybe you can Google it and learn as well. but be relatable and authentic. Don't share lies. Don't share somebody else's story as your own. Sometimes people can tell, right? You don't know if it's somebody that, I don't know, but you need to be able to be relatable, share from your experiences. My first job, the only thing I shared, I don't have any work experience. So the only thing I shared was, okay, when I had NYSC work experience, my first real job post NYSC, I had NYSC work experience, but I really didn't even share anything from my NYSC work experience because they weren't really asking me questions around what I did then. The focus was, okay, so the question they asked me was, what are your core values? I said, excellence is a core value. And the person said, why is excellence a core value for you? So just to check that I was not randomly calling words. And I said, excellence is a core value for me because I'm the first child of my family. And from as long as I remember, it was drummed into my head that I must set the standard for my siblings. And so in everything I did, I kept that at the back of my mind. I assured that in doing my homework, I did it well. I also needed to help my siblings with doing their homework. So all of that was what were the times when I displayed excellence. In my academics, I always ensured that I was first three in class because there was no excuse for not being first three, because that would then give my siblings the excuse not to be first three in their own classes. And that was authentic for me. And guess what they wrote on because I'm in HR, so as soon as I got in, I went to check for my interview sheets. And what I saw that the lady wrote there was, okay to hire, she is teachable, right? So be relatable and authentic in everything that you do. And then let's talk about STAR. You know, I already mentioned it, right? First, I mentioned prepare. You need to prepare. Listen to the question. When they ask you, tell me about the time when you listen to the question, then you spend some seconds. Don't answer. Don't be quick to, oh, thank you very much. In fact, there are some people that when they're interviewing you, when you're interviewing them, you just ask question, you have not finished the question, they will immediately take the words out of your mouth and answer. If you're that kind of person, receive deliverance today, because you need to wait for the interviewer to ask. Don't assume that you know what the interviewer is about to ask you. Allow the person to finish and put either full stop to it or question mark to it. Wait till the end of the question, and then you say thank you very much, and then you answer. So in waiting, you will be able to think. In fact, active listening means that you cannot be thinking. So you need to listen to the end, then spend a few seconds thinking about it. I mean, and if you need more time to think about the answer, just say, okay, please, I need a few seconds to really think about the answer, and then you answer, right? It's better to go correct than just go in and do nonsense. So think of an event, think of a situation, and then you answer, right? And keep it short and sweet. Very important. Like I said, no too much story. So if we now want to know more, we'll ask you like, what are those clarifying questions, or questions that will provide you to provide more context, right? So situational questions, you provide the context of the situation. I think I already spoke to that, right? And then you talk about the task. This is the problem, this is the challenge that was faced, right? And this was what I was supposed to do. Then action. What did you do? And how did you resolve that task, that situation, and the task that you already outlined for yourself? And then what was the result? What were the benefits of it? What happened, right? Did the company get some savings? What happened? And I'll use two examples to highlight my points, and then I'll end this session. So first off is a Bible verse. I'm a Christian. I like to use Bible verses a lot. So Bible verse, 1 Samuel 17:34-37. So when the king asked David, why do you think you can kill Goliath? He said, thank you very much, Your Majesty. As a servant in the bush, when I was tending, as a shepherd, when I was tending to my father's flock, sometimes a bear or a lion will just come out of nowhere and steal a flock from the sheep. Now, that is David's situation. So what did he do? He will run after it. I will go after it, right? And I will rescue it. And if the thing pursue me, I will turn and kill it. That's it. Very simple. So if I'm able to kill this lion and the bear, there's not Goliath is a small fry where this thing is. So I have been in similar situations like this. This is what I did, and this was the result. I was able to rescue the lamb, and also kill whatever lion or bear that tried to attack me when I went on my rescue mission. And that's it, spirit. Now, another example in the workplace. Can you give us a time, for example, when you encountered the challenging problem at your previous job and how you went about solving it? Thank you very much for the question. A few weeks ago, I was on a project with my team, and one of the team members resigned unexpectedly. We did not see it coming, and there was no notice. He left, he resigned. It was with immediate effect, right? And this project we're working on had a very steep deadline to it. So what did I do? As a project manager, I had to ensure that, I had to close the gap. So I had to ensure that there was not that the project went on as it should, right, within the time frame, because I couldn't go back to the client to ask for an extension. And so to achieve that, the action I took was to look at my team members and reassign the tasks amongst the current team members to say, okay, OB stacks, I'm going to reassign it amongst four of us. And I also try to speak to the team to, motivate them to know that, this is a one-off situation, and it's because OB left us suddenly. And they decided, and everybody understood, and then we went along with it. And because of that, we also had like training sessions for people who did not understand or did not have the same skill sets as OB had and needed to deliver on some of OB's stacks. So I had to do a training for them. And the result of that was that we met the project timeline. There was no project. We did not spend more money than we should. We did not spend more time than we should, and we delivered the project within scope, within budget, and within the time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to share effective strategies to help you become more impressive during your interview. Thank you. Hmm.
What a session those words, and as the reactions show it, we very much appreciate the insight that you shared with us so far. And so at this point, I'd like to entertain any questions that you can either put them in the chat box or raise your hand and ask them directly. Okay, we have a hand from Daniel Oladipo. Can we take your question, please?
I just wanted to ask if she's open to like prepping for like interviews. Like, take for instance, I have an interview. Maybe she can help with like practice interviews or stuff like mock interviews.
Okay, Daniel. So we're talking how much are you willing to pay me to do this for you?
My attention, my commitment, my, my practice.
So you're paying me in social currency. Nice, love it. Yes, I think I should be able to spare some time, subject to my schedule, to be able to do this. Preferably would be some time on a Saturday or Sunday, because weekdays are like completely out of it for me. Unless it's quite late in the evening, which I usually don't, because I'm not an evening person. I'm more of a morning person. So unless it's early in the morning, but we can work out something. Yes, I can do that. You can see the way I'm stressing. Yes, I can do that.
Thank you so
Because
much.
because I try not to commit to a lot of things, but I should be able to do that. Yes.
Should I reach out to the team to like get your contact? Or how would I be able to reach you?
Just send me a message on LinkedIn. That would be great. My name is as it shows on LinkedIn, Ijeoma Anunibe. So send me a message on LinkedIn and just state that you're Daniel from the Engineering Career Expo, and I would respond.
Okay, thank you so much.
All
Thank you so
right,
much.
thank you for that,
Awesome.
Daniel. Any other questions? Okay, my own question would be going back to when you spoke about keywords in our resume or cover letters. Where can we identify keywords that will be applicable to each company when we are applying for jobs?
Okay. Thank you, Candy. Always check the job description. it has all of those. So tailor the job description to your to the experience on your CV, because if let's assume that let me see, let's say a company is asking to recruit a HR officer, and you are probably you've done no, let's say a company is looking to recruit a recruitment specialist, right? And you've always only been in HR, you would need, but you've done recruitment, right? So you would need, but your previous role, you were a HR generalist, you did other things aside recruitment. You would need to then tailor your CV to highlight more around the recruitment aspect of your role, right? Because when the ATS is searching, it's looking out for keywords like hiring strategies, looking out for keywords like recruitment, interviewing, selection, all of those things in your CV. So you need to be able to. It cannot just be a one line. Take for instance, if I mean, if you go through my CV currently, because I've been a generalist for most of my career, it's it's like, you know, I'll just put one line on recruitment. But if I want to apply for like a talent acquisition director, because I've done it already in the course of my career, I will probably maybe five out of the achievements on, or five out of the description of my current role will speak mostly to recruitment. So, but I would tailor. I would always say your first point is look at the JD in the job ad, and then add some words from there to reflect on your CV. But make sure, like I always say, make sure that it's something that you've done before. If it's not something that you've done before, and you, because people do this to game the system. If it's not something that you've done before and you're just doing it, it's going to be a waste of your time and a waste of the time of the recruiter. And the recruiter would be swearing for you.
Kehinde, Kehinde Abuola, who has his hand raised.
Yeah, so good morning. First of all, I want to thank you for the insightful presentation you did. Thanks a lot. But my question is, um, those entry level job that I mean you can apply for. Some of them you still have to see. You need to have 2 years of experience. You need to have this year of experience before you can apply for an entry level job. And then you said that you should apply for jobs that I mean, your profile is, is you are qualified for. So those kind of case that okay, you don't have any experience as an entry level, and yet they're still asking for like 2 years of experience. What can you do about that?
Okay, thank you. So my typical answer would have first been maybe that job is not for you, right? Because there are entry level rules that don't ask for experience, maybe 0 to 2 years experience. So if it's a range of 0 to 2 years, you can apply. So it means that they are open to people, because entry level is usually 0 to 2 years, right? So you can apply. Also would be if, take for instance, if you see a bank's graduate trainee program, which is the bank's entry level program, you will see 0 to 2 years experience, because they acknowledge that there are people who have done previous entry level jobs that they did not like, and their interest is really within the banking sector, and so they want to be able to create room for those people to apply to the role as long as they meet the other requirements. So the question is, do you meet the other requirements? So I'm just rambling off with an example here. Another example would be if you are applying to, say, an oil and gas firm, and they say, okay, you need to have 1 year, 0 to 2 years experience. What that means is that there's going to be like a tiering system. So there's going to be the people who have zero experience can apply. The people who have like experience in other in within that field or within that role can also apply, because when both of you join, your tracks within the organization will be different. So take for instance, the 0 years experienced person will probably join as an analyst, and the 2 years experienced person can join as an associate, or something like that, right? So there are a number of reasons why organizations put certain years of experience. So if you see that, it just tells, and you're not able to tailor any experience you've had in school for it. So I'll give you an example. If you are applying to, if you've held like a leadership position in school, you can probably pass it off as an experience, right, on your CV. If you've, especially if you've held that position for like 1 year and you can outline the things that you've done, you can pass it off as a 1 year experience because it was in a sense a job that you did, right? And then currently now is not even the time to even be saying you don't have years of experience. We have, I mean, in my office, we even have multiple Unilab students that are working part time, right? And so you would not, while they will still qualify for entry level, you don't want to discount their years of experience as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that I've been able to answer your question. Kane, does that answer your question? Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right.
All right. Thank you, Kennedy. And thank you, Ma, for that response. Do we have a hand from Adibayo Adinka? Can we have your question?
Yeah, good morning.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
everyone. Thank you for your presentation. Actually, I joined lately because I actually noticed the meeting was on my second WhatsApp. So I wanted to ask from what you said, like if you have if you want to do like write a tailored CV in the sense that you don't have prior experience of the position that you're applying for, but you think it's kind of something that you can do uh, because you are into a lot of things. Like let's take for example, I'm actually a front end developer now, so and I've been working on different projects and others in which I have little experience on this, and I used to see some jobs that required what I can do, but for me to write a tailored experience used to give me difficulties because they will require maybe 0 to 2 years or 3 years experience, and I will be like, all these things I have, I put them in the CV, and I will not hear from them again. I don't think it's a normal thing for you to stress yourself to apply for a job, and at the end of the day, they don't get back to you. Maybe you are qualified, or they move on with other person or something like that. So I just been like, okay, you don't have the experience. Let's say, for instance, I apply for let's say Union Bank entry level tech, like they used to say. So and before you can write something about this, they put the role like you are a graduate, you have tech experience or something like that. For you to write a tailor CV in that aspect, what can you look into? Like they just put it general without being specific of what they are in need of, but they just made mention of a tech enthusiastic person or enthusiastic person rather. So that's what I want to ask you.
Okay, so basically your question is when the job role isn't specific about their requirements, how can you apply? That's a tough one because most job roles I know are usually specific about their requirements. So if you can reach out to the poster to get more information, then do that. If you have the opportunity to get more information, to know if you qualify, so that you also don't waste your time, right? Because to be honest, applying for roles can be disheartening, especially if you don't get callbacks as frequently as you want to. So I think some of the things you asked, you also answered your own question, which is don't apply to rules that, if they were clear about their requirements and you know that you don't meet at least 80% of the requirements or 70% of the requirements, then don't, I'll just say don't bother because chances are that you might not go through. But if you now want to tailor your CV for a role that they were not clear on the requirements, you can apply now, and but don't put all your hopes there. Just apply. I mean, follow your heart. Apply if you want to, and like I mentioned, first reach out to the poster to say, please, can you shed more light on the requirements for this role because I think that I may be a good fit for the role, but I'm not certain on what the requirements are. And If you get a response, all well and good. If you don't, and you still feel like in your heart you can do this job that this person has said, then go ahead and apply. But most roles I know specify what they are looking for, unless it's a shady job. You know, there are a lot of fake jobs on LinkedIn these days, so be careful of what you're applying to.
Mm. Thank you very much for that response. And we have another question in the chat from Miriam Abdulaziz, I presume. As an undergraduate student applying for internship or part-time jobs to begin our careers, how do we make up for lack of experience or
Okay. Um, my response to that would be apply to internships. Don't apply to experienced roles. Apply to internships because at least if you apply to internships, you're on a level playing field because nobody expects you to be an experienced intern. Equate around experienced intern. You're supposed to internships mean that you don't have any experience and you are willing to learn. So apply for internship roles. Don't apply for roles that require experience. And then when you get into the organization, if you do get into the organization, show that you're willing to learn. I've had lazy interns that I've had to fire, to be honest, because internship means that you have to be willing to learn. Because everybody's going to give you all of those jobs that they don't want to. And you need to be gracious enough to know that because you're in a learning phase, that's why this is happening to you. And learn from that experience. Saying this as someone who was once an intern, learn from that experience because it will come in handy every time, every day. But if you're a lazy intern that is not willing to learn, everybody can tell within the first 1 month. And when I say laziness, I don't mean in terms of there are certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. It's all about attitude. How are you projecting yourself? Are you projecting yourself as someone who can learn? And projection is not just, oh yes, I want to learn, I want to learn, give me, give me, give me. They give you and then you don't do the job. It's about every job, see every task you're given, see it as a learning opportunity. And if you don't know, ask questions. So that's how you make up for your lack of experience by signing up for internship roles and actually getting it done. And guess what? When you have a string of internships, you can then use it to apply for experience roles where you can work part time. Because some part time jobs require some level of experience, while internships do not require experience. So they are like two different
Mm.
things.
Thank you very much for that insight. And I'm just going to ask, do we have any more questions? Okay, I can't. Okay, another question from Adebayo Adeyinka.
Sorry, I wanted to ask that, like, if you apply for an internship role and they give you, and at the end of the day, they are requesting for payments for certificates. Yeah, if you are now trying to maybe update your CV in that area, are you qualified to put that you did internship with some people in which you are unable to pay for the certificate, which is a bit huge for you to move on with the certificate as well?
Interesting. In, oh, I think I know the type of internships you're talking about. All those tech internships or data internships where you are paying instead of them paying you, right?
Yes.
That one is tough because the whole idea of getting so you can't put it. I don't know. That one is tough to be honest. Yes, now because you can set it as a training that you've done. Now state then you can state the internship, Sha. You can state the internship because you actually did the internship, just did not pay for the certificate. So I think you can state the internship, state the training, state the internship. I think you can. I don't think anybody will come and fight you that, oh, you did not pay for our certificate. Because really, what in those kind of cases, what they're really after is the money. And so, since you did not pay the money, nobody's going to give you a
Yeah.
certificate certificate. So it means that you can state it on your CV that you did this training, you did this certificate, you did this training, you did this internship because you got the knowledge from the training and you actually worked during the internship. You just don't have the certificate. So I think,
Okay. What's it called? Say that was.
Bele, I've gone through a lot too. Bele.
All right. Well, we have someone in the chat box asking if there are any intern roles presently open at Shortlast, especially for CWES students.
Hmm. I mean, this is an example of shoot your shot while you're at it, right? So, to be honest, at the moment, because we have about 20 interns in the organization currently. I'm not sure we're taking
Girl, you
now.
got real.
I'm not sure we're taking interns right now, at the moment, but because we already have like over 20 interns, both graduates and students alike. So I would say, but I mean, you can send me a message on LinkedIn, and if because we've been having conversations as to whether we have space for serious or not at the moment. But no, at the moment we don't have. But in case something opens up, because I think serious starts somewhere, is it March or June or April, depending on which school. So I would let you know then.
Mhm. Thank you very much, Ijeoma. And I think everyone really appreciates the session that we've had with you so far and with Ayo when we first started. And before we conclude this session, would you like to end with some final words?
Closing remark would be prepare for an interview, right? Ask yourself questions, prepare for the interview, right? Imagine and put yourself in the shoes of the interviewer and practice. Practice is key. Make sure that your CV is great. Make sure that you ace all of the assessments and make sure that on the day of the interview, you show up confident, you show up as professional as possible, and you listen actively. And remember the STAR method for responding to questions in an interview. Always practice with that. So that's my closing remark. And thank you everyone for having me
Thank
today.
you so much, Ijeoma. Preparation and practice. Preparation and practice. All right. So before we conclude our session today, we would like to say a huge thank you to everyone who was in attendance for this soft skills training class for today. Did we learn something? Let's find out. We've prepared things for this session so far, and right. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing the quiz now, so that we can all join. The quiz is going to be hosted on Slido, and I'll be sharing a link to the quiz in the chat box. So everyone is invited to join. In case you'd like to go through Slido's website, I have included the code 1230588 is the pseudo code. Here. Okay, I'm sorry. But please join the quiz 1230588. 1230588. Okay, we do have a number of persons in the quiz already. And we have 12 persons. 1230588 is the code for the quiz. And we'll be beginning at exactly 12:15. So that is in and we have 14 persons logged on to the quiz now. I believe we have about 25 to 28 persons in this meeting. So anyways, with the 15 persons we have, we'll be starting the quiz now. Remember, speed and accuracy. Okay, so we have the first question. Correct answer was paystack. I also give correctly. The next question. Okay, Ayodele is a DevOps engineer, as was correctly answered by 64% of the persons here. We already have a leaderboard. All right. Okay, which of these did Ayodele mention? You build trust with results, not words. Someone is on a roll here. 3 out of 3 questions correctly answered. Next question. Okay. Which of the following is incorrect? It is that it is not okay to fail. It is okay to pass by. Tolu seems to have taken the lead from Mo after the last question. Okay. Question number 5. What is the glue of team dynamics? No one chose top bond because the correct answer is communication. Next, leaderboard. We have Tolu in the lead with Mo, Jessica, and Casey tied on points. Next. Okay, our first unidirectional response, Ijeoma, was chosen as the correct answer as the name of our second speaker. What sector does Ijeoma Anunibe work? She did mention that she works at Shotlass. That's a logistics company. So we have this question number 8. Hmm. 82% mentioned always apply for roles you are qualified for. And that is the correct answer. Tolu and Mo still lead the leaderboard. Question number 9. Interesting responses we have here. Past performance is the most reliable indicator of future. Actually chosen by 46% of you. Very tight in our leaderboard. Now for the final question. Which of these is not a part of the acronym STAR? The correct answer was application, as A stands for action. Right. So at the end of our quiz, we have our leaderboard. I think I can share the leaderboard at this time. Drum rolls, please. Our winner for the quiz was Mo. He or she was with and 3 seconds. Tolu, who had 9 questions correctly, lost out by a time of 5 seconds. Jessica, 8 out of 10 questions. Jamal with 7 questions correctly answered. And Miriam, 6 out of 10 questions correctly. That was. So thank you very much to everyone who participated in the quiz session. And thank you to everyone who stayed right from the beginning to the end of session 5 of our soft skills left us with some insightful words while we were at this session. And we look forward to seeing you next weekend for the sixth and final session of our soft skills training, where we would have another insightful speaker come speak to us.